day after, Auburn takes on Texas A&M after losing that game 31-20. We're going to talk about a few things, but before we do, go ahead and like the video, comment, and click the subscribe button for Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Definitely a tough day for Auburn as far as football goes. Having a clear-cut opportunity to win that football game. A lot of moving parts, though. I think when you look back and you look at the domination at the line of scrimmage on basically on both sides of the football, especially the Maroon Goons, it was pretty rough to watch. I mean, there was not a genuine stop by the Auburn defense. The defensive line outmanned. The linebackers just honestly too small and just not natural interior linebackers. Just made it really tough. And then you top that off with poor tackling at the next level. Smoke Monday had an epically bad football game. Christian Tutt gave away his weekly huge mistake in that game. So it was pretty tough for the Auburn defense, giving up well over 300 yards rushing the football, and it's just not characteristic of a Kevin Steele coach defense, especially for it to happen 200 plus yards multiple times this year. Now, the bad part about all this is that it happens against the top ranked teams. Georgia had their way moving the football. Obviously, Alabama had their way moving the football, and Texas A&M definitely had their way moving the football. You know, if not for a couple of occasional stops, a missed field goal, a couple other things that kind of went in Auburn's favor, unfortunately, this game could have actually been worse, and it could have been over earlier than what it was. Now, big shout out to Bo Nix, giving his best effort possible. I'm still struggling with fundamental passing. Set your feet, throw the ball to Eli Stove, touchdown Auburn, gives Auburn some momentum early in the game. Also, Tank Bigsby, welcome back. He actually had a really good football game, showed why he's among the top, probably the best freshman running back in the country. Great fundamentals, knows how to turn nothing into something. Very good game from him. I think Auburn has to continue to make a priority at the offensive line position, defensive line position. Got to continue to get guys in there, rotate some guys. I really don't think Auburn did a good job this year of rotating guys on the defense to see what fits. Now, mind you, Auburn didn't have spring, of course. Auburn didn't have a really sound fall camp because of COVID-19. But the fans don't want to hear that. Even though it's reality, the fans don't want to hear that. And that's just the truth of the matter. And another thing, well, before I get to that, sometimes you just hurt for a player. And I think about Zacoby McClain. I mean, that is a play that either you got to knock it down or you got to catch it. I mean, you got to catch that football. Those are the types of plays you have to make when you're talking about beating anybody, really, but especially a number 5 team. When the game is on the line, that's a play you got to make. I mean, you absolutely have to make it, but my heart breaks for him because you can see the immediate pain. Now, usually when you drop an interception, it usually, you just drop it and it just falls to the ground. But this one, I'm talking about, he just basically flicked it to the Texas A&M tight end. And it was just probably one of the most unfortunate plays I've ever seen, really, outside of the prayer at Jordan Hare. The kick six still cracks me up to this day. Because, I mean, you see the way Gus Malzahn had the guy kind of hiding out in the end zone. It was just the whole choreography of that play is just absolutely hilarious. And to lose a game like that is more comical than anything else. But to end this thing off, I'm a little disappointed in Gus Malzahn's comments. I haven't had a chance to watch the actual press conference, but apparently this thing is getting around pretty quick. that Gus Malzahn made some really interesting comments as it relates to the expectations of Auburn's program and how many games Auburn expects to win. And, you know, I think a guy who is already on the chopping block as far as the fan base goes, at least a good percentage of Auburn fans are clearly irritated, frustrated with him and his approach to Auburn football. He says it'll be transition. It'll be the best, the 6-4. He was basically talking about the expectations moving forward. He said on the goal now that 7-3 and a top 5 win is out of the question. And then he goes on to say it'll be transition. It'll be the next best, the 6-4. That's what it'll be, 6-4. And if you had a normal non-conference schedule, it'll be a solid year. But obviously, we're not happy with. We weren't able to beat one of those top-ranked teams. I think we played the number 1, 5, and number 2 on the road, and there weren't easy games to win. You know, four losses has become too common, and for Gus Malzahn to say that a 4-loss season, even in non-conference play, we're assuming that's a win over who was the non-conference team this year. We'll just say a win over Kent State and a win over Tulane. Now we're 8-4. Okay, that is what keeps Gus Malzahn on the chopping block with the fan base. The fans are tired of it. They're tired of the 4-loss seasons. They're tired of losing to Bama, Georgia, and LSU. And they're tired of Gus Malzahn being so nonchalant about it. Oh, okay, we'll get him. We'll get him next time. You know, obviously a tough loss. You know, those are the things that keep Gus Malzahn on the hot seat with the fan base, because it comes off very indifferent. And I think the Auburn fan base is ready for a guy with some passion that gets his team passionate about winning football games and winning the big football games. Because it's almost like when Auburn plays plays top 5, top 10 teams, they don't show up. They don't give them. They just kind of hang around and hope something, you know, good happens in their favor. But as far as a genuine approach, a genuine level of preparation to give your team, like the first drive, for example, you throw 2 screen passes to start the game, and none of that stuff is going to work. This is a very athletic Texas A&M defense, and they know what tends to happen. They've studied film on Anthony Schwartz. They tend to know, based on where he's lining up, what Auburn is going to do, and they never fail. They always do it. But Gus Malzahn, I'm really disappointed in those statements. 4 losses being a solid season. At this point, it's not. You got to get to a point where Auburn loses no more than 2 games. That's a solid season. 2 games, preferably with the option of being a 2-loss team in the playoffs, because that's realistic for Auburn. With the schedule, you got to assume if Auburn goes to the playoffs, they're going to have 2 losses. The only problem is the 2 losses can't be in the conference. 1 loss in the conference and maybe 1 loss to some crazy non-conference team like Penn State next year. So that's the kind of math you're looking at Auburn. But 4 losses, that's too much, especially for a team that recruits somewhat as well as Auburn does. 4 losses is becoming unacceptable, and it always has been, but it's definitely becoming unacceptable when 4 losses is the norm. 7 straight years, 4 losses or more. That's just not getting it done. All right, guys, that's my time here. That's the day after video for Auburn versus Texas A&M. Looking forward to covering Auburn versus Mississippi State on this coming week. I think this is an interesting game for the Auburn Tigers. You definitely want to finish off the season 6-4. Assuming there is a bowl game, maybe Auburn has the opportunity to finish 7-4, but It's a lot of tough teams out there that, obviously everybody can't go to the college football playoffs. There's a lot of tough teams out there. But go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.